I am certified pet professional Amy Lee. The only difference between you and your groomer is knowledge, technique, and tools. It is absolutely my pleasure to share with you the secrets of the grooming industry. So stay put as we get started on this journey together today. Thank you for joining me live from the grooming table. I am Amy Lee, certified professional pet groomer, but it is absolutely my pleasure to share with you the secrets of the grooming industry so you can provide quality care for your beloved pets at home. That's what we do here every Monday, except last Monday. I've missed you. We missed a Monday due to a holiday, but we're back. We're back right here live from the grooming table where we get together every Monday at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tonight's good, and I know it's going to be good because you guys have been commenting and sending me emails on this very subject. So I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Our topic tonight is what is the difference between dog grooming clipping blades and snap-on comb attachments and how to properly use them. So, for instance, here's a blade, here's a snap-on comb. How do we use this? Is there differences? When do we use this? When do we use this? We're going to cover that tonight, guys. Don't worry. I put together a demo for you, demonstrating using the snap-on combs. I'll be trimming a large Labradoodle named Diesel. You're going to love him. He's the biggest guy that I groom other than Duke, I think. So before we dive into that demo, I want to make sure that you understand that you cannot use the snap-on combs to give your dog a haircut if you have not properly prepared the dog's coat for trimming. That's very important. Tonight's demo will show you exactly how to do that, my friends, okay? I put together a good one. At least I hope I do. I got a new camera, got a new phone. I got it for you guys. I got it for this channel. And the audio should be better. We got this Rode wireless mic on, so I shouldn't have any wireless problems with our mics. And our clarity in the video it should be really good, guys. So I'm excited for you to see what you think of the demo as far as the clarity, because we got a new camera and it's pretty rocking. I love it. So couple things I wanted to say first, of course, before I say hello to you guys, because I love you so much and I can't say hello to all of you, but I've missed you and I'm so glad that we're back here together and you're all so chatty and happy, all of us. Ooh, there's a lot of us in here. Now listen up. I'm going to say a few things before we watch that demo. Okay, clipper comb attachments, they cannot stand up to clipper blades. That means they're not the same. Okay, I do want to say that. There's a lot of controversy. People don't understand that are just getting into grooming or trying to find out what tools they need to groom their dogs at home. Clipper comb attachments, they cannot stand up to clipper blades. It's not the same. When it comes to trimming dog breeds with thicker coats, such as a Cocker Spaniel, Poodles, Doodles, and a lot of our favorite mixed breeds that have thick coats, the snap-on combs the coat has to be prepared perfectly. And I'm going to show you that tonight. If your dog has a matted coat or an abundance of dead coat, you will find that using the snap-on comb attachments, it's not an option if they have a matted coat or too much dead coat. They're not going to get through the coat and they're going to snag, they're going to get caught in the tangles, which leaves you only two options if you can't get through the coat with a snap-on comb and you want to leave length. Those two options are that you can use a clipper and go shorter because you have to get between the skin and the mat, or and then you have to do some dematting, and dematting is something that not everybody's comfortable with. Dematting your dog's coat prior to attempting to groom it is a necessity if there's mats, if you're going to use snap-on combs. So we're going to try to avoid all that with our prepping and what we're going to learn here today. Dematting is not something that most novice groomers are capable of achieving successfully, and that's very true, as this method takes years of practice and know-how to safely accomplish a perfectly prepared coat for clipping. And that's the secret, guys. Perfectly prepared coat for clipping. Whether we're using blades or we're using snap-on combs. That's the secret. So how do you know if you're skilled enough to demat your dog's coat before clipping, if we're talking about some mats? I like to gauge that simply by determining the condition of the coat at the time of attempting the haircut. So we're going to assess, right? Meaning if you can't brush out the coat and be able to get a grooming comb easily through the coat before clipping, then do not attempt to use the snap-on comb attachments or dematting practices. Because if you knew how to demat your dog properly, he would not be in a matted coat in the first place. And that is how I gauge whether or not you should be attempting to demat or use snap-on combs. If you can't get a comb, a grooming comb through your dog after brushing, then don't even attempt it. It's not going to work. Now, I'm going to explain all that tonight, guys. Don't worry. And don't be ashamed to admit if your dog does have some mats. It's life, you know, it's normal. We need to be realistic to ensure what's best for your pet when we're approaching the groom. And he's the one that has to wear the mats and endure the dematting process if you choose to put him through that. But fortunately for you and your pet, we can safely and easily remove those mats from your dog by using clipper blades. That would be the safer choice at that point. So, however, it's not easy to groom your dog's hair without proper training. In fact, most people don't even have the proper tools, let alone understanding how to use them correctly. Any tools that you use to make it easier to give your dog a good-looking haircut is something of value to you and your pet. So we're going to talk about that today, guys. Don't worry. The only downsides to grooming with snap-on combs is that they may not leave the length of coat that you would like, meaning that you can only go so long. The largest size guard comb in the wall set is 1 inch. I think there is such a thing as like a 1.5 and a 2-inch that Oster makes, and Andis might too, come to think of it. Those are very hard to work with. The longer that comb is, the more cumbersome it's going to be to work with, guys, especially if you're newer to grooming. You're not going to like that. So the only other options other than using, our wall snap-on combs or your snap-on combs, say that go up to about 1 inch of length. If you want more length than that, then you have to learn how to freehand cut, which is hand scissoring. That's something different, and that's a whole different ball game. So you do have to be realistic and understand that those snap-on combs, as a novice groomer, this is how you're going to leave length on your dog. If you can't, if the length of the snap-on combs is not your desired length, meaning say 1 inch long, then you're going to have to understand that that's where you're at if you're going to be grooming your dog. Otherwise, you have to hand scissor it. The clipping techniques, it's the same whether you're using a blade or a snap-on comb, and we're going to see that in our demo tonight. Blades leave a smoother finish, where the guard combs leave a little bit of a textured hair look. It can be a benefit to use your snap-on combs because sometimes, depending on the type of coat, whether it's a wavy or a terrier type coat, that textured look actually is ideal. That's what we're going for. So get your questions ready, because hopefully after tonight, you will be ready to use those snap-on combs and give your dog a professional haircut. Let's roll this demo. I gotta find it. I found it. This is Diesel. He is a Labradoodle, and he's a very big boy. He's a lot of work. But Diesel comes to me every 6 to 7 weeks, so we never really have a problem. He is obviously large and a lot of work, so if he didn't come to me often enough, his job and my job together would be much more intense, and he is a lot of work because he's a lot of dog. So as you can see, he's not in bad shape at all, but here we are in July and it's hot, and he's got a black coat which really attracts that sun, so we're going to cool him down a little bit today. I am going to be using my number 2 wall stainless steel snap-on comb. Now Diesel just got here. He hasn't been bathed, brushed, dried, or anything yet. So what I am going to do first is I'm going to run a brush through him all over, as I would with any dog before I bathe him. And then I'm going to do a little pre-clipping with him with my number 2. And the reason I want to show you guys that today is because I feel like some of you may be trying to clip your dogs at home when the coat is just not prepared enough for a guard comb to go through it. And these little guys can be quite finicky, these guard combs. If this coat isn't just right, they're not going to go through. They're going to snag in the coat. So I'm going to show you how we actually can do some pre-trimming, which is going to shorten, obviously, his bathing time and his drying time. That's why I like to do a little pre-clipping on a dog as large as Diesel. So I'm going to brush him out a little bit, and then I'm going to show you how I do this. Pre-brushing before the bath is something you cannot skip. This definitely is preparing his coat for clipping, especially for snap-on combs. They are very picky about going through coat. If your dog has too much buildup of undercoat or dead coat, your snap-on combs are just not going to go through it. So you see, we are removing dead coat right now. That's the idea. All right, so guys, we got our 10 blade and we got our number 2 wall snap-on comb. So I'm going to show you how I seat these both on my clipper. I usually use a hair vac system, so I took it off so I can show you exactly what I need to show you, and it might be easier for you to see. So in this little slot right here in your blade, this is my 10 blade, that's what's going to seat right here on the hitch of the clipper, just like so. Set that on there like that. Now I turn my clipper on, and that makes the drive move, which is going to seat the blade. And that's how that works. Turn it off. Now there's these little hooks right here on the back of your guard comb. They are going to seat gently right against the bottom of your blade, and they have a little bit of a spring action. Push forward and push down, and it will seat on top of your blade. Let me show you one more time. Set the little teeth on there, pull forward gently and down. They are mechanical and they're flimsy a little bit, so you don't want to be aggressive. Now our snap-on comb is seated nicely, and that's what I like about these wall combs. They have these side guards. They really seat nicely on your clipper. But if you're working with a matted coat, they can pop off. So that's what I want you to know. So we turn a clipper on, we're ready to go. Now we're ready to do a little pre-trimming on Diesel. Stand up, big boy. Now remember, he's not bathed, he's only brushed. We want our clipper to glide and roll the skin in front of the clipper. This is how much this is going to take off. So he is getting a fairly short cut today, but he really needs it, trust me. We're still leaving about half the length on him today. So let me bring you in a little closer and show you how I do this. I am gliding and rolling the skin in front of Diesel's coat. If Diesel had mats, I would be getting stuck in his coat right now. And he doesn't have mats, so I'm able to pre-clip him. Now the pre-clipping is just to take some hair off before the bath and before the dry, so that he doesn't have to endure such a long bath and blow dry. That's all. Normally I would have just bathed and blown him out. I want you to notice right here, we're getting a little bit of resistance. I don't know if you can hear that. It's going through, but I'm feeling the resistance. I'm feeling the clipper kind of snagging in some coat. It's just because his coat is very thick and very dirty right now. So that snap-on combs, they don't like to go through a dirty coat. And his coat is dirty. It's okay, big boy. So right now I'm just showing you the technique. After I bathe and blow him out, I'm going to show you how we do finish cutting with snap-on combs. Now let's get Diesel in the tub. And this is a very important step, guys, especially if you're going to be using snap-on combs over a 10 blade or a 15 or a 30 blade. It's very important to get your dog extremely clean. And don't ever attempt to trim your dog with a snap-on comb without properly brushing and bathing and drying your dog, or you're just not going to get through it. It's just not going to work. And then I get a lot of emails, guys, of people telling me, my 10 blade doesn't go through the dog. My snap-on comb doesn't go through the dog. And I can tell you the reason is because your dog's coat is not brushed and it's not clean. And I've been grooming long enough to know that's the reason. So I can't help you if you don't do this step. And of course, over-rinsing the product out is very important. So now we have Diesel back up on a grooming table and we're toweling him off. I'm trying to remove as much moisture from his coat as possible so that the drying process is not too lengthy for him and we can make some good time here in his groom, because he takes me a long time to groom, about 3 hours, start to finish. Now after I've toweled him off, it's very important to brush through him thoroughly again before I dry him. This is another way to remove dead hair, and you can see I'm snagging on a little mat here in his ear. So we're going to go for the brush, we're going to work the mat out, and after we do, we're going to check it again with our comb, and we're good to go. So our comb always checks our work. Don't forget that, guys. I say it all the time. But this is good to brush your dog after you've bathed them and toweled them off, because you're going to remove dead hair. Now I'm force drying Diesel. You may not have a force dryer, and that's fine. You can let them air dry and then come back and give them one final brush. Guys, now Diesel has been brushed before his bath. He's been bathed. He's been force dried and brushed again. I am brushing through him one more time. I also brushed him thoroughly after I toweled him off while he was still wet. That easily allowed me to get through any snags or any heavy areas of his coat. And now he is dry and beautiful, and I am just going through him one more time. And it's very important that I'm able to get a comb through my dog. Let me show you that up close. I can get a comb easily through Diesel's coat. If I couldn't get this comb through his coat, then I would not at all be prepared to use a snap-on comb on him, because that is a comb too. And if the comb won't glide through your dog's coat just like this, then the snap-on comb isn't going to either. So you're not going to have a successful groom. And grooming is grooming, guys. I realize I'm a professional groomer, but if you're going to be doing the grooming for your dog, you need to do a professional job. I mean, there's just nothing, I can't tell you that there's any other way to produce the results that the dog needs to fulfill his grooming needs, unless, if you're going to do the grooming, you have to do a professional job. The tools and equipment that professional pet groomers use are all available to you too. So if you're not going to be regularly scheduling your dog with a groomer, and you're going to be that groomer, then you have to have a grooming table. You have to have a good clipper. You have to have the right brushes. You have to, most importantly, be able to properly prep the coat, bathing, drying, and brushing. If you can't do that, you won't get professional results. I am just going through him one more time with the brush before we go and do our final trimming on him with our number 2 stainless steel snap-on comb. I do want to point out that this is the 3rd time I've brushed Diesel today, and I'm still getting dead hair out in the coat in the brush. And the reason for that, this is what will cause the mats on your dog. So that's why I can't stress enough that the properly prepared coat, being able to get a comb through him like this, properly prepared coat is the coat that's ready to be trimmed. We don't just go and comb our dogs. We brush them first. That's what removes the dead hair. The comb just follows through and shows us how we did with our brushing. And it also is a tool that we use to lift the coat while we're clipping it. This is not a shedding, dematting tool as far as by itself. It has to have its friend, the brush. Diesel is finally ready to be trimmed. With this number 2 wall snap-on comb, I'm going to start at the base of his skull. I'm going to trim his whole body just to the base of the tail to keep this clean. I'm going to trim his legs with this snap-on comb as well. I do have it sitting on top of a number 10 blade. That's the one I always recommend you use, because then you're always ready to do a sanitary trim, because you already have your number 10 blade on. So after I do his body, I am going to set the length on his head and his muzzle with a different snap-on comb. So stay tuned for that. I want you to notice how easily this guard comb glides through Diesel's coat, just like butter. And the reason for that is because his coat has been properly prepared for clipping with guard combs. If I did not do all the pre-work that I did on Diesel's coat prior to going and attempting to give him a haircut with snap-on combs, I would not be able to go through this coat. It wouldn't be even. It would be choppy and messy and look really bad. This is the key, guys. We're going with the lay of the coat, the way the coat grows. And I'm putting enough pressure to move the hair in front of the snap-on comb. And it's beautiful. And this is a professional result. And if you're giving your dog a haircut at home, you want professional results too. So you have to come to terms with that, guys. Otherwise, there's no shortcuts to professional work. You know that. That's why I share these secrets with you on my channel. But look how easy and beautifully these guard combs just make simple work out of shortening the length of your dog's coat. Your only other option, if you wanted to leave more length, is to hand scissor. And that is not something that most novice groomers or pet owners at home doing the grooming are experienced enough to do. It's a lot of work too. It can be fun, but it takes time to get good at it. Very nice even coat so far on Diesel. Now I've put an 8 comb on over my 10 blade. And I'm going to start from the base of the skull towards his nose, and I'm going to set the length on the top of his head. So this is where having the different sizes of snap-on combs truly comes in handy, because you can really polish your look here. And instead of clipping him all over with the same size, you're giving him a You're cutting down your work here with setting the length on your snap-on combs. Good job. This is all stuff you would not have to hand scissor then. Professional shortcuts, guys. Get those ears back out of the way so we can come on up here. Get those sides of the cheeks. Good job. Right up his muzzle. We're setting the length so we don't have to set that with scissors. We will have to do some final trimming with thinning shears and scissors just to tidy everything up, but the bulk of the work is being done right now with the snap-on combs. Good job, Dee. Now I want to show you something that is a question I get often asked. Why does my blade get packed up with hair, especially my snap-on combs, when I'm clipping my dog? And then it makes your blades not clip nicely through your coat because they're packed with hair. I want to show you something. So periodically throughout trimming your dog, when you're using a guard comb, you're going to need to remove the guard comb. And you can see all the hair that's packed in here. That hinders your blade from making a smooth cut and giving you a smooth finish. So periodically you take a toothbrush or a little blade brush and you will depack your blade. And it's very important to do this, or you're going to start to notice that your clipping work starts to look shabby on your dog. You have to depack your blade. This is also a good time to oil it. This is Andis Clipper Oil. I put a bead here in the corner and a bead here in that corner. Let it run. Then I'll take a paper towel and just wipe all the excess off. It comes off. It's very thin oil. It's just made to oil your blade, that's all. Then you will reseat your snap-on comb and you're ready. And in a minute I'm going to show you how we trim with a 10 blade. So we're going to talk about blades versus snap-on combs. I'm going to show you the difference between blades and snap-on combs. So basically we're just setting length with our snap-on comb. Our blade is meant to push and power through coat. So it's different. Now you guys know I am using my Clipper Vac system, and that also helps to keep my blade from becoming packed in my clipper. But I want you to just watch how easily these guard combs are going through Diesel's coat because it's properly prepared. Without properly preparing Diesel's coat, you will not be able to use your guard combs on your dogs when you trim them. And what the guard combs do is saves you a lot of time with hand scissoring, which you may not even be capable of doing, hand scissoring your dog. That's something that takes time and experience to really learn and become good at it. So that's where these snap-on combs save you time, give you a professional look, as well as and a nice even length of coat. Now, I'm choosing to use the number 2. This is fairly short. Is there a blade this short? No, not really. A 4 is close, but even a 4 blade is shorter than this. So that's where, if you want to leave length, you have to use snap-on combs. And you can't use snap-on combs unless you've properly prepared the coat with brushing, bathing, and drying, and more brushing. That's the only way to use these combs, or they will not go through your dog's coat. I've removed the snap-on comb, guys, and I want to show you how a 10 blade goes through a coat versus the snap-on comb. I'm going to do a sanitary trim here on Diesel. And remember, with a snap-on comb, when you have that on top of your 10 blade, now you have 2 elements that have to go through the coat. Not just the 10 blade that's underneath doing all the cutting, but the guard comb that is setting the length. It's guarding the length, meaning it makes it the same. It holds your same length for your trim. So blades cut through coats much easier than snap-on combs. And I am using the hair vac system again, guys. I always use a 10 blade for sanitary, nothing higher, nothing lower. Anything like a 7 would be too dangerous because it actually has teeth and it could snag skin. Our sanitary areas are very tender areas when we're trimming. So I just want to make it known that the 10 blade is what you want to use, and it's the safest to use for your dog too, okay? And it can be absolutely used under your snap-on comb attachments. So I think that's very important. I can't say it enough. I get a lot of questions about that. All blades are universal for any detachable blade clipper. So this happens to be a wall blade. I could use it on an Andis blade, no problem. This happens to be a snap-on comb made by Wall. I could use it over an Andis blade on an Oster clipper, as long as it's a detachable blade clipper, a detachable blade, and detachable blade snap-on combs. If you're looking for guard combs for the 5-in-1 clipper, which is this guy, or one like it, then these combs will not work. You have to get them specifically for your 5-in-1 clippers or your 4-in-1 clippers. Now for Diesel's paw pads, I am going to use a 4-in-1 clipper. This is a Kenchi Flash, but this is a blade. It's not a detachable blade. It does come off, but it's not a detachable blade clipper like my Wall KM10 or your Andis or your Oster. This is really designed for the fine work around the pads, in the private areas, around the eyes. It's safer, it's quieter. It doesn't vibrate like a bigger clipper, but it's also not as powerful as our regular clippers. So I like to use this in the pads of the feet because dogs don't seem to mind it really. You know, you don't need to put much of any pressure at all on this clipper. It just gets right through these little areas. But I'm using a 30 blade. It's set to a 30. It can be set to a 10, 15, or 30. We always go in a V shape when we shave the pads because there's a tendon right here. So we come at that in a V shape and scoop out that hair in the pads. This will ensure that your dog has good footing when they're walking around. And I clean everything up around the toes, everything from the underneath that he would be standing on. It's just so wonderful to use these clippers. But this is a blade versus a snap-on comb leaves more of a textured look. Whereas a blade is just gonna get a nice smooth cut And same thing on Diesel's back paw here. See, this is the difference between the blades and the snap-on combs. The snap-on combs are only there to protect the length of the coat. Obviously, here on the pads of the feet, we don't want length of coat. And I am using a 30. This is the only place I will use a 30 blade on a dog, is in the pads of feet. Other than that, I use a 10 under my snap-on combs. I use a 10 in the private sanitary areas because it's safe. A 30 blade in the sanitary area, you know, the privates, is way too short and will cause clipper irritation. Could really end up being an infection. Your dog could start licking it and messing with it because it's itchy. So that's why I'm always telling you guys to use a 10, because that's the safest blade size for your sanitary trimming areas. And I am going to be doing a demo on the Kenchi Flash because a lot of people are interested in knowing how to use it. If they can trim their entire dog, say a Yorkie, Maltese, even a Shih Tzu, with this clipper. So I am going to be doing a demo, seeing if I, as a professional, would use this solely for a full groom. I wouldn't use it on Diesel. I just feel that he needs a stronger clipper, like my KM10 for sure. But maybe I should try it sometime. Looking good there, big boy. Yeah. Oh. See, it's nice and even. Everything looks good. And we set all this length with a snap-on comb. But I don't know if you can see the texture. It leaves texture. It's not a blade. It's not going to clip the same as a blade. But it sure does look nice, and it sure does save you a lot of work. And it sets the length, so all you got to do is touch up with your scissor work. Diesel, you are amazing. Yes, you're a good boy. Say thank you. Thank you, Diesel. Thank you for helping us with our tutorial. Good job. Oh, he is such a sweet baby. But this is what we get. This was a number 2 stainless snap-on comb all over, and an A to set the length on the top of his head. Other than that, we just tidied up with the scissor work. And this was a 3-hour groom. All right. That was kind of a long one. Pina, I see your last question here. I just wanted to say before I move past it and forget. You're struggling to keep your dog on the table. You said you've got several loops on your grooming arm. You've probably got one of those grooming arms that go all the way across your dog. Let me turn this off. What I can tell you is you got to make sure that your grooming loop is under your dog's jaw and you have them standing. If you give them too much grooming loop, too much play in the loop, they'll kind of cower. And when they cower, their behavior changes, because then they're in kind of I'm protecting myself mode. So you kind of want to always have your dog standing as much as possible, if you can, or at least nice and firm and have their head up. You know, it gives them a little bit of pride and confidence, and then you can work with them a little easier. That's what I find. You're still going to have those dogs that you just think, why I can't reach this dog. He's just never going to be okay with it, you know, and that may be. But also it's in the way that you hold them. I always keep my opposite hand on the dog at all times. If I'm scissoring, I mean, occasionally if I'm doing scissor over comb, I have both my hands going. But if I'm scissoring, I'll comb the dog's brow forward, say if I'm doing the eyes. Then I'll get a hold of them right here or like this at the top of their nose and under their jaw. So I can turn them and move them. And it just tells them what you want from them. And then it's easier. They hold still. And you can feel if your dog's resisting, then be careful of that, because that means they're going to make an unpredictable move, and that could be bad, you know. So just stay in tune with your dog when you're working with them, feeling their body movements, and you can feel when they relax. You can feel when you can work with them. And that's what you want. That's the sweet spot when you're grooming. You want to feel that relax on your dog. And if that has to be through talking to them, as well as properly having them harnessed on the table and they're standing and they have, you know, confidence and pride, you have to take all those things into consideration when you're trying to get them to have confidence so that you can work with them. And I think that you do, but I'm just going to say, Peanut, you have to have the confidence too, because they feed off of our energy. They really do. They're amazing creatures. You guys know that. So I hope that helps, Peanut. I do have some videos on my channel that can help you. One of them is how to keep your dog safely on the grooming table, items to keep your dog from falling off the grooming table. And those can show you some of the ways that I hitch them up so that they are safely secured, and also so their behavior is better. So look for those videos, Peanut. If you haven't watched them already, you probably have. And they should be very helpful. Helena says, what advice would you give someone who wants to get started in professional grooming? I'd say you definitely have to do as much research as possible, and I'm sure my channel is very helpful with that, giving you ideas, food for thought, especially my live streams. My live streams are so candid and so just me and you guys, and I feed off of your questions. So often, if you go back and you watch some old live streams, you'll find some questions that somebody answered that are going to sit with you. They're going to strike a chord with you too. And that's what's great about our live streams, is that the interaction that gets going between you and I, and it answers a lot of people's questions. So I do also have a video, Helena, on my channel that talks about getting started in pet grooming, what you got to do, what you got to look for, what you need. And that could be helpful. That's, I don't know, it was a ways back. You'll find it. Just type in the search. But you really have to, if you're thinking about getting into pet grooming, you really need to have that drive. I got to tell you, I think I had it my whole life about handling a dog. I never knew my whole life that I wanted to trim dogs' hair and wash dogs and clip their nails. I never thought when I was young that's where I would end up. But I always had this connection with dogs, and I always had to have my hands on dogs, like my dogs especially, always picking at them and touching them. And I was confident. They didn't scare me. If they were like, oh, knock it off, then I found a way to comfort them so I could touch them or, look in their ears and see if they were clean. And, it didn't scare me off that they were like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't touch me. And I was like, okay, so you don't like that approach. Let's find a new one. I think you have to understand that you either have it or you don't. So if you're fearful with dogs, if you're fearful with dogs that you don't know, if that scares you, then pet grooming is probably not going to be for you, because you are always all of your clients initially are going to be the first time you ever met them. After they're returning clients, then you really know them well, and you're building your bond and relationship with the dog. But at first, you have no bond with that dog and no relationship. And the first few grooms on each dog are very crucial, because that bonds you with the dog. It either bonds you in a good way or it bonds you in a bad way. So if you don't bring that confidence to the table, it's not going to go well. They're not all like Diesel. They're not all like Chubbs. They're not all like Charlie. They're not. And you have to know going into it that that's a challenge that you're willing to face and you can overcome it. And it's your personality. It has to be there. If it's not, then maybe it's not worth all the effort. Start with your dog. Start with your mom's dog. Start with your sister's dog. Start handling people's dogs and working with them just with brushing, maybe bathing. See how it goes. If you do well with them, if you communicate well with them, even just with your body language, you'll know if it's going well. Then maybe you should pursue it. But definitely got to give it a lot of thought. I think it's very important. Terry, I see you have a question. I'm just looking to see if I missed anybody else. I'll get you. Don't you worry. Yeah, Carrie says, I have 5 dogs to practice on. And that's what it is. Because every groom you will improve every time that you groom a dog. Right, Alejandro? You know. Tell him. He's in the chat. You all know. Half of you are groomers. And half of you have been grooming your own dogs. And you improve with every dog. And you could type in, yes, amen, if I'm right. Because you know it's true. Now, let me see. Sherry Lane. Hello, darling. How are you? She says, if your client asked you to thin Diesel's ears, how would you do it? Good question. Actually, today, Diesel's mom asked me to shorten his ears. I don't know if you noticed it. I didn't put that in the video because I wasn't really talking about scissoring today. Oh my goodness. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. You did it again. You crazy critter. Look at you doing. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know you're supportive. I love you guys. We're good. We're all good. So I wanted to answer Sherry's question. That was a great question. Diesel's mom asked me to shorten Diesel's ears today. She said they're really getting long. And if you watched in the beginning of the demo when I started, his ears were really long. And I typically don't shorten a dog's ears unless the customer asks me to. And if I notice that the ears are getting really long and they don't say they want me to trim them, I'll mention it. If I think, ooh, that looks pretty bad, I'll say, hey, you want me to shorten that up a little bit? And they'll say, oh, yes, please do. You know, sometimes you have to remind them. But as far as thinning the ears go, what I like to do, thinning, the easiest way to thin your dog's ears is with a Coat King. I'll be right back. Here we go. See, I love this new mic. I can just walk away and I can talk. And I'm not like hooked to my computer. Okay, this is great. Anyway, this Coat King. You've seen me use this on Gus, even my golden doodle, who is a non-shedding breed. And I thin Gus down when he has a lot of length of coat. If I'm leaving him in a lot of length of coat, I will thin his coat out and down with a Coat King. And this is great to use on ears of a Shih Tzu, anything with a full ear, poodle, standard poodle, any full ear. A lot of our mixed breeds, even, oh my goodness, Cocker Spaniels. Absolutely. Any spaniel. To thin down that full ear, this will pull some bulk of the coat out, which then leaves the ear still looking full and nice and pretty like the customer likes to see. But you'll find when you run a comb through that, it's just like air. You've thinned it down. And I have some videos on my channel using this, guys, on ears. And I think usually it was with Gus. But that's how you do it, Sherry. That's the easiest way to do it and the most effective way, and it still looks good without you going in and thinning out with thinning shears, which is okay to do that too. But just remember, when you thin with thinning shears, that bulk is gonna come back because now you have all different lengths in there. So this will thin it down and keep it from matting too. So that's a good thing to do. All right, Terry, I'm getting to you now. I see you. Haven't seen you use your curved shear. Do you prefer straight or curved? I like to use my curved shear when I'm doing a top knot. That's about the only time I'll break it out, but I've gotten so used to not switching between my shears just as a time saver. I've gotten so good. Oh, Barbara just became a member. Welcome, Barbara. That's awesome. Glad to have you. So, you guys are making me lose my mind. I was talking about, what was he talking about? I get so excited. Okay. Terry. It was Terry's question. Okay. Why do I usually use my straight shears? Just a time saver, so I don't have to keep switching and getting my shears out of the drawer. Because remember, if we have a lot of shears laying on the table, that's 1, 2, or 3 pair of shears that's likely to get kicked off the table by your dog. So I tend to like to keep my workspace not cluttered. I do have all my shears in my drawer at my grooming table, so it's right here. But I've just gotten used to using my straight shears. Curved shears are really nice, especially for scissoring. Scissoring in a shoulder, scissoring in the rump of a dog. Scissoring, yes. If you're doing a lot of scissoring with poodles and Bijans and anything, you know, that carry blues, whatever, you would like to have that curved shear right next to your straight shear. There's going to be times when you want to use the straight shear when you're, you know, making your leg cuts and coming down the tuck up, stuff like that. But you can do it all with a curved shear. I just don't. It's not that I don't care for them. Oh, I was talking about how much I love my husband. Gosh, he's like a mind reader, isn't he? You're so cool. You kill me, Alex. You're funny. All right, so I hope that helps you, Terry. Don't be discouraged if you don't see me using a tool and think, oh, the curved shears, they must not be worth it. They are worth it. They're nice. we just get used to what we're used to, you know, and I'm used to a straight shear, but that's okay. Okay, so Francis says, where can I buy a Clipper Vac? Well, there's different manufacturers of the Clipper Vac, Francis. I have the Hanvey, which is Hanvey. They make a hair vac system that I really love. It was a bit more affordable than, say, the Clipper Vac system, which is by Romani. But there's other manufacturers of the hair vac systems. I use the Hanvey, and I can honestly recommend it to you guys. I believe it's around $700. Oh my goodness, Sabrina! Crazy kids! You get a salute! Thank you, Sabrina! Too much. Just too much. This is helpful, I hope. I'm hoping that it is helpful. So thank you for asking your questions, because that helps too. Okay, so that's where I would get it, Francis. The Hanvey, I can honestly tell you, it's a good one. That's what I use, and I love it. Let me see here. I see that Sherry has another question right there. Sherry says, recently I did the worst groom. I used a guard comb on a Shih Tzu. He had really thin hair, and it left the worst clipper tracks. Is it better to use a blade on such thin hair? That's a good question. Thin hair can be tricky when you're using snap-on combs. So if you're approaching a dog with a thin coat, like you said, a Shih Tzu, and typically Shih Tzus don't have a thin coat, but say this one does, because sometimes they do. A Terrier, Yorkies, Maltese, Shih Tzu, you're approaching a dog with a thin coat, always start a little higher on your snap-on comb length. Like if this is a 2, then go up 1, or maybe 2, and make a pass down the leg. See what you think, because you may be surprised and say, oh, that actually cut shorter than I thought it would. And that can be because the coat's thin. Another easy way to get a clean clip on a dog with a thin coat with a snap-on comb is to go in reverse direction. It pulls the hair up then and clips it. So it may come out a tad bit shorter. Usually, they say you can go in both directions, either with the lay of the coat or with snap-on combs or against the lay of the coat. I find seriously when I go against the lay of the coat, it's a little bit shorter. Just a tad, but I just want you to be aware of it. So start a little bigger with what you think is going to look good and clip it in reverse with your snap-on comb. Another good question we had earlier, and I answered it in the chat when we were watching our demo. It was a good question, and it's a question that a lot of people ask me. They say, hey, you say I can use a 10, a 15, a 30 blade under my snap-on combs, but does it change the length of the cut? No, it absolutely doesn't. I want you guys to know that. Whatever blade you put under this, and it can only be a 10, 15, or 30, of your choice, you can choose one of those. No other blades. A 7, is the teeth on a 7 are too big to even work with these snap-on combs. You'll break your snap-on combs. So it does not make a difference. This comb is what's setting the length of the clip. The 10 blade, the 30 blade, or the 15 blade is merely just making the cut inside here. This is what sets the length. And I'm glad that, I think Donna asked that earlier. That was a great question, and I was hoping everybody saw it. So, oh my goodness, Kathy, you crazy girl, you're getting a salute. Thank you. You guys are too much. Thanks for being you. Thank you for being you. You guys are great. You're just great. We're doing awesome things together. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate that. So, my goodness, you guys are super chatting. Jeez Louise. Okay. Let me check here. I see some more questions. I don't want to miss you guys. I don't want to leave you hanging. Kathy B says, I have trouble with using my wall clippers. It's not cutting my dog's hair when I change the attachment. When I change the attachable number 5, it's a competition series. Can you tell me what I'm doing wrong? Thank you. Okay, Kathy, I think, honestly, what I notice most people start struggling when they're clipping is because the coat's not properly brushed out and clean. All clipper blades are gonna not like clipping through a dirty coat. You're gonna see that. So when I say dirty coat, I say a dog that maybe hasn't been washed in in 3 weeks or longer. That's a dirty coat. It's a dog that's been outside and exposed to things, and things just slowly start to collect in the coat and make it tacky and yucky. So it's very important, like I showed you with Diesel today in this demo, that you really brush him thoroughly first. Then you don't have to do pre-trimming. Unless your dog is matted or overgrown, then you should do pre-trimming. Then you bathe them, you condition them. That's another question somebody had. Do you condition? I condition every dog. I always say that, guys, and I'll say it again. I always condition every dog. I'm not showing these dogs their pets, and I'm trying to make their trim last them as long as possible without being matted and just clean and nice. So the condition really helps. And it doesn't matter what conditioner you use. So that's what I think, Kathy. I think you really need to focus on how you're prepping that coat. And then your guard combs should go through. Or not even your guard combs, but your 5. A 5 should go through. The only time I have trouble getting a 5 through a coat is if it is a little matted. So maybe you're not putting enough pressure on your blade. You definitely want to apply enough pressure to your blade to roll the skin in front of the blade. This is the front of the blade. This is the part that we're clipping. And you don't clip your dog with your blade up like this. You ride it along the skin like this, and you roll the clippers, your dog's skin. It's something you need to practice a little bit. Maybe you should practice it on your own arm so you can feel how much pressure that is. Because maybe you're afraid of putting pressure on your dog. But that's the only way to get between the hair and the skin, is to apply a little bit of pressure in there. So you got to find that right amount, okay? So that might be what's going on, Kathy. Definitely oil your blades. Oil them before use and clean them. Clean all the hair particles out. Sometimes your blades get packed with hair as you're clipping, and you have to pop it off your clipper and take a toothbrush and declutter your hair. They get stuck in all these little bitty teeth, and that will affect the clip. So depacking your blade is one thing too, Kathy, that maybe you're not doing that as much as you should. So just be mindful of that, and hopefully these things help and you have better luck. Andrew, hello. Andrew Thomas says, if you're using the attachment comb on a dog with a drop coat, do you go straight down their back or straight down the side? Does that make sense? I know exactly what you mean because you're trying to avoid track marks. Yes. If you go straight down the side, you're going to get track marks. Especially you're talking about a dog with a wavy coat. A dog with a wavy coat is a little tricky because you really kind of want to follow the coat as you're trimming. So follow the coat. I mean, a lot of Doodles have a bit of a wave to their coat. You saw Diesel did today. So I had to kind of move my clipper as such with the lay of the coat. Because, say, a Yorkie, their coat grows straight out like that. But a Doodle has a wave because they're mixed breed and they have that golden retriever wave, a little bit of that drop coat. You know, even a Portuguese water dog will have a wave to it. Now, that's a purebred. So you just got to remember to follow the lay of the coat. If the coat's going down this way on the side, that's the way you go. If you went straight down, you're going to see marks, and you're not liking that. That could be what's happening. So hopefully that helps. Okay. And Latricia says, hi, Amy Lee. Hi, Latricia. How are you? Have you had a chance to look into whether or not you'd be making the safe dog grooming tub leash for purchase? Oh, I want to. Okay. You know what I even did, Latricia? I want to make them for you guys so bad because they're so helpful. I took all my paracord stuff up to the camper because typically we spend at least 1 or 2 days up there a week. And oftentimes when I'm there, I'm not doing laundry, I'm not cleaning the house, I'm not, so I have more time. And I can sit and tinker with stuff like that. So it is on my list. I took all my paracord stuff up to the camper so that I can get to working on some of the tub leashes. I wanted to make some of my grooming arm hitches too, because I know that's something that will benefit you guys. And I'd like to start giving them away during live streams. That's what I'd like to do. So let me work on it, honey. I'll tell you what else I need to do for you guys, Latricia. I need to do another video on making it. Is that one you guys really want me to push forward in the queue of videos I'm working on? Because I have several. I have the Prima bathing system Encore unit. I'm working on that video. What video do you guys want? You can always tell me. Type it in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, please type it in the replay. What is it you're looking for? Because I definitely listen to what you guys want and try to produce it. Because that's the whole idea of this channel, is to help you and your pets. So that's one that's on my list, is how to make the safe grooming tub leash. And also the grooming hitch that I use with the grooming arm. The Prima bathing system Encore bathing system model demo, that's a significant video. That's one that's on my list. And I also have one in the works right now with a Cocker Spaniel that had really gunky ears, and how I had to clean all that out and still give her a haircut. And so that, you guys got to tell me what you want too, and it's okay. But I want you to know, Latricia, it's on my list, okay? I didn't forget. I know how badly you guys are loving that leash, and I wish that you all had one. It's wonderful. So, Peanut, did you just super chat me again? No, jeez Louise. Oh my God, these super chats. Look at you guys. This is crazy. You guys. Okay, so I'm just, my chat's bouncing around on me. Okay, Barbara. Barbara says, hi, Amy. I have a 10-year-old Cavajon who has some bumps and lumps, and the vet says, don't worry about it. I'm nervous about using my new KM10 and nicking something. Any tips? It's not so much that you're going to nick it with the blade. It's really what I find in the dogs that have warts and lumps and bumps. It's in the bath when we bathe them and a little like crusty scab comes off. Then it's just really tender under there. So one way to avoid nicking it is obviously to be very aware of where your dog's lumps and bumps are. And I always figure that out when I'm washing my client pets in the tub. And as I have my hands on them and stuff, I'm feeling for any new bumps, anything new that I want to be mindful of up on the grooming table, so I can really pay close attention to when I'm trimming around it. It's not like you can just whack one off with the clipper. I mean, I guess you could, but you would really have to be putting some pressure on that blade. But you can poke them sometimes, and they're sensitive because they're so, like, they're just kind of raw, you know, sometimes, and that means they're sensitive. So another thing to do is to use a guard comb, you know, leave a little bit of length and just kind of ride over those little lumps and bumps. And no, they're probably nothing to worry about, like your vet said, as far as cancer and stuff, but there's something to be mindful of when you're grooming. I'll agree with that. And Kathy B says, I just gave her a bath today and I brushed her prior to giving her a bath. Good, Kathy. That's what you have to do. So you were the one questioning about the 5 not going through. Then I'd say maybe, Kathy, it's probably a new blade. I would just clean the blade out real good, oil it, wipe it all off. Try again. If it's not working, maybe you're not putting enough pressure on the blade. So like I said, practice on your arm. Just take your blade off like this and see how much pressure you're putting on with this hand on your skin and how that feels, and that you want to roll the skin in front of your clipper blade. Okay, so practice a little bit before you go to it. Maybe it's just your technique and you'll get used to it. Clipping is awkward at first, you know, that's for sure. I know it was for me too. Sabrina says, can a Prima Encore system be used without an actual grooming tub? Yeah, sure, it can. It's portable. The Prima Encore system, I can take anywhere. In fact, I took it to the campground and washed one of my friend's dogs up there, and I've washed little Gus up there at the campground. So it's very portable. All you need is a water supply, though. So if you don't have a tub, you can do this, say, outside, or you can do this in your home shower if you tether your dog to the shower and use the spray from your shower, and you can use the Prima in there. You wouldn't have to have a bathing tub for dogs, so to speak. You can use your bathtub and maybe pull the curtain back a little to try to contain some of the crazy soap that's going to fly around because you're cleaning your dog so well with the Prima bathing system. But you don't have to have a tub. But you do have to have that second water supply to rinse. However, I will say the Prima Encore system comes with 2 buckets. It comes with one that can hold 3 gallons, and it comes with the one that I usually use. It can hold 6 gallons of water and soap. So what you can do is use the small one if you're just washing your one pet. Use the 3-gallon bucket for your soap and shampoo, or your shampoo and water, and use the 6-gallon as just a rinse. Fill it up with just warm water, and you can rinse your dog with it. So it is a very versatile system, and I am gonna put that in my demo, that you can use that as your main water supply. You really can, like just to apply it. However, the spray nozzle on the Encore, it may take a little longer to rinse because it's a high pressure, low flow water, but it'll do it because it'll penetrate in through the coat into the skin. So it absolutely can be done. Okay, so yes, everybody says yes. I think they want the bathing leash. I need to get working on that, don't I? All right. And Elizabeth says, Amy, I am thinking about doing colors on my dog's coat for fun. A lot of people like to do that. I think you do that, and I was wondering if you might do a video on the correct way to do that. It's very easy. I use Manic Panic from Sally's Beauty Supply store because Manic Panic is a vegetable oil based color, and it washes out. There's nothing permanent about it. It washes out with each wash, and of course we don't wash our dogs constantly, so it would stay in for a little while. If your dog is not a buff color or a white, it's going to be very hard to color them up. You may need to do it a couple times. But basically, you just follow the instructions on the bottle. I like to do ears and tail. I think that looks really cute, especially for different times of the year, for something festive. Also, I want to tell you that Davis makes a lot of cool coloring products for dogs. So that's if you go to davis.com. Davis has a lot of shampoos. They have my anti-static spray that I love so much. They have my degreaser that I love so much. They also have a lot of coloring supplies that you can get for dogs that are made for them. And you just follow the instructions. I could do a video sometime. I guess I should. A lot of my customers don't request the coloring, but I could do it. I'll have to put that on the list. I think it would be fun. I think people would like it. So it would be a smart one to do. So thanks for the tip, Elizabeth. Yeah, Mindy says, my trouble areas, chest and flank. How to trim the chest that it has calyx? That's a good question. Or the hair that goes in different directions. Dogs have calyx here on their chest. They also have calyx right here. Did you ever notice that? So when you're trimming the calyx area and you want to make it look better, often you can then go in the opposite direction with your blade. So you would go in reverse. Or the next size up, the next size blade up, go in the opposite direction. Or what I like to do is I will go with the lay of the coat, come down the chest, comb everything up, and use my scissor and shape in the shape I want. So I'm faking it. I know exactly what you mean. So if you comb all that up, you can use your scissor and scissor it and make it look nicer. Or a thinning shear will work for you too to make it look nicer. Or just go in reverse with the next blade, the next largest blade. Can't think. Okay, so that should help. The flank, you come straight off the flank. Don't go into it. You come straight off of it. That's very stretchy skin. So if you pull it and stretch it, and then you can clip down it again. Just never go sideways into it. That's how your teeth of your clipper blade will get caught in that flank skin. So you can stretch that skin forward a little, stretch it out, and clip down it if you're having trouble. Some dogs, they have real loose flank. So it's hard to clip there because you just can't get to the hair. Ashley says, could you do a video on some Asian fusion styles? I don't do any, honey. I would like to, but none of my clients have enough coat. None of them will maintain that much coat. If I did anything, I'd probably have to get myself a cute little Maltese and do it myself. But I think hubby said I'm not allowed to get any more dogs. So you guys are going to have to talk to him in the chat. If I was going to do any trimming like that, I probably would have to have my own dog because none of my clients seem to be interested in that or maintaining that type of trim. I would love to do it because I think it's extremely creative and I would love to play around with that. But there is some really awesome videos on YouTube. Was it Shoe and Tree Grooming? She does amazing, beautiful Asian fusion. It's just not my specialty. I mean, I could do it. I would like to play around with it, but I don't have anybody that I can work with their pet like that. They just don't. I don't have anybody with that much coat. Okay. Catherine says, thanks for recommending the Kenchi. So you like it. I only use scissors occasionally on my full coated Lhasa. I got the 5-star series. Good for you. That's awesome. And you love it. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing me. We like feedback. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Is the KM5 as strong as the KM? You mean is the KM5 as strong as the KM10? No. It's not. The KM5's okay. If that's the only one you can get your hands on. Oh, see, hubby, please, can Amy get a little foo-foo dog, please? The KM5 is not a brushless motor clipper. It doesn't have the rev power that the KM10 has. The KM10 has, if it starts to push through thick coat, it'll push harder. The motor will rev up. The KM5 doesn't have that. It doesn't have the same RPM speed. What's it called? Strokes per minute. The 5 doesn't have the same amount of strokes per minute as the 10. The 10 is definitely more powerful. So it's not a huge difference, I can tell you that. Is the Wall KM5 good? Yes, I've read a lot of good reviews about it. I've never owned one. But if I had the choice of between the two, I would always get the KM10, whether I was a beginner or an expert. That's what I would do. So, no more dogs. Just find an empty spot in the house and point and say, oh, we have room for another dog. That's right, hubby. See, we have room. So, Kimberly says, how long should blades last sharpened? How frequently and where would you get them sharpened? I send all my sharpening, which is my scissors, my shears, to Kenchi. Kenchi does blades as well. They also do clipper repair. I like Kenchi's fast turnaround. As far as sharpening goes, they have wonderful, wonderful equipment because my scissors come back so sharp. I'm always cutting myself because I forget how sharp they should be. And they're, I don't ever wait till they're like dull to send them out, but apparently they are a little dull because I get them back and they're just, they're sharp. They're scary sharp. So I throw away my blades after they're done, the blades. I find when I send them out to be sharpened, I don't like what I get back usually. I've never sent Kenchi my blades. I just decided this probably about 7 years ago. I was like, I'm done sending my blades out. It cost me money to send them out. It cost me money to get them sharpened. And sometimes they just never cut the same as they did with that factory edge. So for $23, I get a year's worth. I mean, I do. I'll get a year out of a 7 blade as a professional. I feel for $23 1 year, thank you. It served me well. I'm going to get a new one with that factory edge. That's just what I like. Okay, Guns Rust says, what is the secret to finding a place that has the KM10 in stock? The secret is to just keep searching every day because sometimes even on Amazon, the merchants will get a shipment of maybe 10. And when they sell out, then they're sold out. So just because a week ago they were sold out, check back. They may have it again. Same with Pet Edge and Groomer's Choice. These are all places that I go to buy clippers. Pet Edge, Groomer's Choice, Ryan's Pet Supplies, Cherrybrook. Oh, geez, what else? Groomer's Choice is my favorite right now. Chewy.com. Just keep checking, guys, because they do get them in stock, and the factories are producing again. They can only produce so much, and they can only stock so much, and then they get a restock. So the secret is to just keep checking, like almost daily, and you will get lucky. I keep getting emails and comments from a lot of my subscribers saying, I got lucky, I got my clipper, it came today. I got one during the COVID, right after the COVID shutdown thing. I looked and looked and looked. I was having trouble. I needed a spare wall cam 10. And I finally hooked up with one, but it was hit or miss. I was like, wow, they have 2 left. I'll take one. And it's tough. I know it is, but you just got to keep looking. Norris says, me and my fiance have 2 dogs, a golden and a golden standard doodle, I think. And we're getting a King Corso. Because, yeah, you really can't resist those babies. No, I know you can't, especially the little squishy ones like my bulldog. Well, I'm going to do a bulldog demo soon with my little Gus on exactly how to do a bulldog or short-haired breed. I did with Duke the other day. That was a pretty good one. But that will help you with your King Corso, Nord. So look for that. We're going to do a bulldog demo soon on what brushes I would use, how to wash them, how to clean the wrinkles, how to care for a bulldog's coat, and what tools I use. So that's coming too. Elizabeth said, I ordered the Walber Vera from Amazon, and I got it in about 3.5 weeks, shorter time than originally said. Yeah, I waited 3.5 weeks. That's good. That was almost like a birthday present, wasn't it? Everything is just, it's hit or miss, I'll tell you guys. Mindy says, have you tried the Kenchi Love Shears? Yes, I have played around with them at the Groom Expo. I like to go to the Kenchi booth, and I like to hold all their shears. I feel for the price of the Love, and for a beginner, I think it's a wonderful shear. I think it's pretty well balanced, too, for a semi-inexpensive shear, It holds sharpness. It's made from good metal. And I think that you would like the Love series, whether that's their thinning shear or their curved or their straight. It's a good one. You said, I just bought the curved and can't wait to get the scorpion one. Scorpions are nice, too. Yeah, it's. I think you'll like the Love, Mindy. Absolutely. In fact, I can't wait to hear what you think of it. So don't forget to share it with us. You're left-handed. Well, Mindy, you do know they make them for lefties, right? Kenchi sells almost, I think, all their shears for lefties. So make sure that you are getting that. Oh, a German Shepherd. Ooh, I love German Shepherds. So you're thinking about, you have a golden, a Shepherd, and a King Corso. So your thing is brushing and bathing, Nor. So a lot of my brushing bathing demos would be very helpful for you. And conditioning and diluting shampoos, all that stuff. So, wow, this is great. Guys, I am so happy to be back here with you, and just all the great conversation that we stimulate together from your questions. And it's helping other people, which is great, that we can just get here and talk and let the vibes flow, Brenda, good to see you. Thanks for coming. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to keep working on videos. I'm going to keep working on leashes and all those things that would just be great that I can't wait to share with you guys. And I want to make some of these leashes and hitches and give them away to you guys during subscriber giveaway times, just for fun here and there in live streams. We do, our subscriber count is really going up, guys. We have a lot of interest in this channel. And I thank you for that because, you're obviously bringing a lot to the channel too. And the information that was stimulated from our chats, it's all good. It's helpful. But we're approaching, where are we at? 26,000 subscribers. That's amazing. So I'm going to tell you right now, guys, when we hit 50,000, I'm going to give away another Prima Encore system. I know Debbie finally got hers in New Zealand. She's in New Zealand. She finally got it. We had a little trouble with shipping, probably because of all this COVID stuff. But Prima and Heidi, they got right on it. They were like, we're not tolerating this. We're going to get that Prima system to Debbie in New Zealand. And they did. So I was so happy that she has it. Nora says, I just tried today DIY oatmeal, coconut oil, water, and honey mixed together on a husky dog, and it turned out great. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to look that up too. I love DIY stuff and just talking about it with you guys too and say, hey, this worked. And Latricia says, Amy Lee, I just want you to know that I'm from Clinton, Mississippi. That's awesome. I used your tip in how to make your dog's coat soft. I was extremely pleased with the results of my baby's Spice. That's wonderful. I'm so happy. There's Debbie. Debbie won the Prima bathing system. I bought one for her when we hit 10,000 subscribers. We gave it away. So I'd like to give another one away at 50,000 subscribers. So that's coming up, hopefully. Our subscriber count's growing. So, I like to reward you guys too. I like to put things in your hands that are very beneficial. And you know how I feel about that bathing system. So it's a good one. I'm going to let you guys go for now. But I will see you next Monday. I promise. I'm not skipping next Monday. There's no holiday. I'll be here. Okay? So I hope you have a wonderful week. You know I love you. You know I appreciate you coming here. And we've come together from all over the world. Right here. Right now. I love it. And I can't thank you enough. You guys are wonderful. I thank you all for the super chats tonight. That was very generous. I know you appreciate the information. And it is my pleasure to give it to you. But right now, I'm going to give you a subscriber showdown. And I'm going to tell you I'll see you next Monday. And I love you.